Good morning. It's that day. It's Thursday. Welcome to everyone. Hopefully, you guys had a good night's sleep, good rest, um, and that you're ready. Um, I'm going to be asking some questions of you, and um, as much as you're able to answer honestly, the ladies out there, please answer honestly. Um, how many of you will recognize this particular thing I'm going to show you, not because you've seen it online, but because you've possessed it in your hand? How many of you have seen this in your hand on a book? Just let me know. Um, you read it. You've been at least given it some time of day. Be honest. Or if you have not read anything by Harlequin, have you ever read a book that had to do with a romantic theme? Are you obsessed with romantic movies like Message in a Bottle or The Notebook or Meet Joe Black? Have you ever been the kind of person that put uh, romantic escapades above content of heart in a person? Now, I said yesterday that a lot of things that I'm going to speak about may not come across to some as pornography, but the female mind works a little differently. The female mind, unlike the men, not all, but most, um, uses words a lot and descriptors as though it were pornography. I've even seen some call it word pornography. Um, your addictions are slightly different. Sometimes the outcome is the same, but your addictions are a little bit different than the men when it comes to pornography. There are some of you who are exactly the same as some men who go after the hardcore stuff. But the majority, I would dare say, go after fantastical storylines when it comes to male female relationships. Some of you may even put it on your spouse to be a certain way with you. Um, you look for a certain type of guy to sweep you off your feet. Um, you want your husband to romance you, to woo you. You have a certain way of interpreting actions to mean love. You want him to express it to you the way that appeals to you. You want him to adjust certain behaviors that you deem more applicable to love than what he might. These are all, believe it or not, traits of porn addiction. Not sure people understand that. A lot of people, when they hear pornography, they think explicit content, nudity. It's it's appealing to the flesh through means of a sensual nature. It's appealing to the flesh by means of a sensual nature. Think of it this way. Let me put you a scenario. Which one of these is pornography? Hear me out. Which one of these is pornography? A scene where intercourse is being portrayed in a very animalistic, primitive way, or petals on a bed, candles, and champagne, or sparkling cider if you don't drink, and flowers at the door and soft music. Which one of those two would you consider pornography? Which one is pornography? Why is the second one not pornography? It's crazy that you would think that the second one is not. Why? The presentation. The presentation in the woman's mind makes it not so. Even in the man's mind, it's not that. The outcome could be the exact same. The exact same. Both are appealing to the exact same thing. One is just not looked at as though it's pornography. Why? They are both appealing to the flesh for an outcome that helps the flesh. But only one is fantasized as a relationship. So you put a man in this scenario. You don't consider it love unless he decides to put out flowers and petals and candles and music. The thing about it here with women and this particular topic, and y'all can tell me if I'm wrong, is that the majority of women do not believe that what they have is a pornography addiction. They call it, I'm looking for love. I just want true romance. I want someone to sweep me off my feet. I want someone to love me for me. Love me for me. Exactly my point, Deborah. Exactly my point. Now, how does a woman break that habit and cycle? When we talked about the men have to surrender a thought life, right? And in doing so, you have to admit a couple of things about your flesh that it's very strong. You've given it lots of time. You have indulged in it probably from a young age. And you probably have some insecurity about yourself that you have not addressed. I would say it's probably the same for the females. A lot of these books emphasize um, the man doting on, investing all of his time into the female. In some cases, some of these books get pretty um, dark when it comes to the relational aspect. 50 Shades of Grey, for instance. So you have to start admitting a couple of things. Maybe the event in life that you're looking for is not so much of a good thing as it is a lust that you have. Maybe. We all want love. I understand that. And we want to be approached as though we are sought after. I get that. But could you be taking it to a unhealthy place? Could you be taking it to an unhealthy place? If you're single, should you be looking for that kind of romantic love from the person that you're talking to? Or should they wait until after? Because you have to ask yourself, what's the end goal? If you are looking for that in a person, how are you going to know they offer it other than words before you get married? You're not going to test that water out, are you? Or are you going to test it out because it's not pornography and it's not sex? Even though the whole idea is about the end result. So, what exactly are you looking for in this so called Prince Charming? What is he supposed to offer you before popping the question? This is just singles at this moment. If you are looking for a male and your whole life has been taught that you are a princess and that he's supposed to come up here and charge, and then he shows up and does that, he's misogynistic. He's a chauvinist. Then he charges up and comes up and brings you flowers. He's trying too hard. So he comes up and he woos you. What is the wooing for? To what end? Can you take that behavior and leave it there? Or are you trying to prime a pump that you shouldn't be priming? Conversation. Let's talk conversation then. So you have a conversation with the person you are interested in. And you begin to speak about things that you would like in your marriage. What is that conversation going to be? Is it about kids? Is it about work? Is it about God? Is it about the household? Do you discuss love? And what is that to you? Do you put that on such a high level as to rival what a man looks for in a female these days? See, today, a lot of men are looking for a certain type of female that fits a certain fantasy in their mind. We can be honest about that. That is true. The majority of men do that. The majority of men do not want to find someone spiritually first. They go after a look. Unfortunate, but true. Women are doing the same thing, but they have a higher emphasis on what the man says to them and how. Your pornography may not be blatant intercourse on a graphic scale, but what you are looking for is someone to do the exact same thing to your mind that pornography does to a man's mind. And the things you may not consider pornography definitely is. So, what does pornography do? Pornography distorts real love. Pornography distorts real relationship. Pornography stunts intimacy. That's pornography in a nutshell. Does all those things. Your desire to have a wooer and have someone fawning after you and all of these fantastical things that most women put into a relationship status as being good is the female form of pornography, because you're putting it in a location where it sours true relationship. The man now has to be put in a position where he's working and now he has to come home and be something completely contrary to his nature for you to feel as though he's being intimate. You've now distorted true relationship with fantasy. Because believe it or not, that is not how relationships really work out. You're not going to be the flowing maiden all the time. You will end up having kids, and the kids will end up frazzling you. And you're not going to look like the picture of the things you think about that your husband should be wooing. You have now a stalemate that you created for yourself, an expectation that will never really be met, and then you have reality that will destroy your fantasy. That's a great mantra, but 1000% untrue. You want to be wanted the way you want to be wanted. You want to be wanted the way you want to be wanted. But what a man really wants you for, you call that perverse. Or you may call it, you're not wanting me the right way. Or is that all you want me for? You want to be wanted, but only under your criteria. The same way men have to be honest about why they go after pornography is the exact same way women have to be honest about what their pornography actually is. Okay? Say you want to be wanted. Okay, let's go with that. Man comes home from work and he wants you. You've been dealing with kids all day. Now, if he wants you, does that now mean he has to go through a ritual of flowers, wooing, sweet talk to get what he actually wants, which is you? He wants you. Or does he just get because he wants you and you want to be wanted? Answer me that question first. You say you want to be wanted. He wants you. Is it going to be enough? Does he have to go through hoops? Does he have to present a certain front? Do things have to be just right? Women, you have a dilemma ahead of you. Okay, this is the dilemma you have. The world today is expecting you to be a certain type. And for some odd reasons, none of the criteria that the world asks you to have follows anything of a godly nature. You have to put on a second face. You got to dress a certain way, smell a certain how. You have to walk a certain way, talk a certain way. And then the other side, you have to be strong. You have to be independent. You have to stand your ground. The truth is this: pornography in a man's mind and pornography in a woman's mind yields the same result, and that's a destroying relationship. A destroyed relationship. It's a destroyed relationship. I understand that there are many movies and books and statements Hang on one second. This might be my daughter. Yes, that was my daughter. She's not feeling too hot, so I'm going to have to set up a way for her to get home. Hang on one second. Family things are popping in. Just give me one quick second here. I have to deal with this. Okay. She got up sick and still had a test, so she had to go get it done. And so now she's needing to get picked up because she's not feeling well. So I got to set that up. Um, where was I? Oh yeah. So you have a whole bunch of demands on you. Okay. But you have to understand this, that your needs and what the world is telling you is completely contrary to where you should be. Completely. Some will be looking for a certain type of man. You know, you're looking for the Prince Charming. You're looking for a certain build. You're looking for a certain facial structure. You're looking for a certain income. You're looking for a certain family life. You're looking for all kinds of things except for what actually matters. Exact same thing we talked about with what men do. The difference is women put a huge, huge emphasis on all that stuff and they don't consider it pornography. All of those things, all of those things detract from genuine relationship. It's a mask. It is lust because you're looking for something other than something real. And then there are those of you who have an addiction to actual porn, the, the darker, heavier, hardcore stuff. Not assuming any of you in the audience do. Not assuming you in earshot listening right now do. I'm just saying there are a few that do. Heck, the ones that participate in it, they have an addiction to it. Whether because of money or whether because of sensation, they have an addiction to it. And your breaking free will be much harder because not only is it attached to your physical, it's attached to your mental. And it's attached to your emotion. You have now embedded. This is why it's probably harder for women to break free of porn than it is for a man to break free. A man goes after a sensation physically. It rarely attaches itself to an emotion unless it began out of an emotional outpouring of anger, rejection, and then you pick that up as your habit, as opposed to my dad did it. He handed me books, and now I'm hooked on it because of the sensation it physically gives me. Women go after the mindset of it. It becomes an emotional attachment, an escape. How you avoid this is a very careful thing because you can go overboard and cut everything completely to black and white stale crackers, a relationship. You could, but you're dealing with someone else too. You're dealing with your spouse. The balance cannot be done without God. A woman said you cannot be, women cannot be addicted to porn. That's a man thing. Really? Hmm. Well, I personally know of multiple that are. So I beg to differ. I beg to differ. And I am talking about what world normally thinks is porn. There are countless of them. In fact, I would even go to venture to say that more women hide it better than men do. I would say women hide it better than men. And I would also say, I would even go out on a limb to say that you would think that your excuse is even better than a man's, more valid, and you have an actual reason to do it. Reason number one is men ain't nothing. I can't find a good man. Or, you know, no real man can do this for me, so I have to just fantasize about it, and this is the best way. In some cases, your books lead you to that too. A lot of these books, and Harlequin is notorious for this, okay? A lot of these books are just as graphic, if not more so, than visual pornography. How many of you are familiar with the series Lady Chatterley Diaries? Have you all ever had that book in your periphery and you heard about it, Lady Chatterley, at all? Ever? One of the most graphic novels when it comes to that ever. Just words. Just words. But it appealed to the female senses. It was 100% pornography, but it was a book. It was just words. What it did to women was twisted their minds about how relationships should be. And men were powerless because they had no way, the same way a woman never had any real way to combat what men saw on the screen, men have zero ways to fulfill what most women read in these books. Thence, destroying the relationship. He can't live up to it. There is no way for a man to live up to those books. He would have to forego work, sleep, bills in order to keep that whole mantra stuff together for you. He has to live his entire life for you. God, who? He doesn't even have time for God. He has to focus 100% on making you happy based on the books you've read, based on the movies you love. That's pornography. It's the same as a man watching it and coming home expecting his wife to just be naked in the house, ready to go. Every fantasy he's ever seen on screen, he is expecting his wife to fulfill. Otherwise, she doesn't love him. How can you say you love me if you won't even fulfill the half the stuff I've seen? If that lady can do it, why can't you? You're doing the same thing, except for you, you have the excuse of you're just proving your love to me. I need to be pursued. I need to be chased. I need to be sought after. You need to woo me. Oh, I'm sure can. Maybe. Oh, no, 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 no. Hold on. Hold on. I take that back. No, you always know. You might be in denial, but you know. You're in denial, but you know. If it's one thing, let's talk from the men. I know for sure. You cannot say that you don't know that you're addicted. You know. You just don't want to admit that. And so you find a whole bunch of excuses as to why you're not. But you do know. Many of us, because we are created by someone holy, have that little thing that tells us, yeah, that's too much. But you do the exact same thing as a man that's addicted to pornography to a relationship. That you do the same thing. You put demands out there that are way above the norm and beyond the pale. Some of these books take it more towards a abuse like situation than love. I would even probably say that a lot of the books out there lead more to a dominating type of love than it is a pursuant type love. They give the women the illusion that they're the target, they're the prize, when in actuality, you're the meat. You're just conquerable in a different way, and you're giving into it. The same exact way that pornography with men makes them conquerable by the women that they subject themselves to. You are becoming conquerable by the men that you think are pursuing you for your prize. In none of the scenarios, in none of the scenarios is God a focus. So, how do you break if you are addicted to either verbal or visual pornography? How do you break it? There are a couple of ways that you can. The bigger way is to step up to the plate and admit that this is an issue out loud. You have to admit that. I don't care what started it, I don't care what perpetuated it. You're in it. You have to admit that you're there. And there has to be some sort of a want to get out. Knowing that you need to get out, that's all fine and dandy. But until you get to that point where you have to get out, you're not going to. So I'm going to address this really quick, Lone, because you said two different things that seem to contradict. Um, and so I need to have some clarification on something. I'm not coming after your throat. I'm not trying to attack you. I just need some clarification on something to make a slight little point. So just bear with me. This is what you said. Okay. Full stop. You're done. You said that. Now, I want you to understand how detrimental your next statement that you're going to make is to not only your walk, but to solidify that thought process. Okay. And how dangerous pornography is to creating a true thought of what relationship is. Okay. You don't need a man in the physical, but on the screen and mentally, you do. And FYI, it is not. It is the fulfillment of lust. It is the fulfillment of lust. I don't know how you can make your walk as fulfilling if that is something that you are constantly going back to. For those wondering what she said she watches porn maybe once a month because she has needs. And I would say that you have some resentment and anger stored up if you have this mindset still. Um, and you need to release that. Like I said, the same way that pornography affects women, men, it affects women. But as you can see, you are making more excuses for keeping it than you are for relinquishing it. Men are perverted, women have needs. Men, when they watch pornography, are perverted. When women do it, I have needs. Like I said, I'm not coming after your throat. I'm just trying to make it make sense for me. But I do understand where you're coming from. I really do. I fully understand it. The question is, do you understand it? Now, the next question is, if you have needs, do you have need of a man? Because the need you apparently have is a physical one that usually men fulfill. But if you are telling me that you don't need a man, how are you still having these sensations? How are you done with men but still need them for certain things? You're either done or you're not done. Now, if you are content to live a life with pornography, that's I'm not here to tell you you have to stop. That's a that's a you thing and a your decision. You decide if you're doing that, you do it. Understand the consequence though. I am here to tell you the consequence of it. If you still feel like you should do it, then feel free to do it. That's your choice. But understand the consequence. As often as you give into that, is that much further you're pushing yourself from true relationship, whether it be in this life or the spiritual one. And you may not be looking for a spiritual relationship that's deeper than the surface with God. You may just want to know that He's there and you're here and that He had some sort of salvation for you and there's no relationship in it. That may be how you want it. It's not how He set it up, but that may be how you want it. That may be how you want it. And like I said, feel free. That is up to you. That is up to you. It doesn't change right and wrong, but it's up to you. The same way that women want men to be a certain way for a relationship, you have to stop doing this and stop doing that and stop. So, okay, suppose alone, you do come across one of the best men ever. You think you can just stop watching porn after you've been giving into it every month? This is my question to you, and I have a legit answer for this. Do you think that because you've been giving into it every month, because you have needs, or even giving in to self relief because you have needs, do you believe that finding somehow, if you were to ever find the perfect man, that you would just stop? Do you think you're capable of just stopping? It's a legit question. Just trying to pick your mind about whether or not you believe you could just drop pornography. Real quick question, if you can answer that for me. If you have an answer, that is. Because I'll tell you what happened with me. My mindset was always, I could knock this if only I had a wife. That was my mindset. I could knock this habit of pornography if I just had a wife. If I had a way to fulfill this side of me and my needs, I wouldn't need pornography. The problem in my thinking is that I hadn't realized I was applying a certain expectation of marriage that I got from pornography in order to get rid of pornography. And if I went into the marriage not getting what I thought I would be getting, I just go back to what I knew, which is exactly what happened. I'm filling my mind with something of an expectation, and I branded it as my needs. In the meantime, I'm dumping a whole bunch of stuff into my head of an expectation of type, and it doesn't come to fruition in the location I thought it would because I'm putting on that person such a burden that they will never, ever fulfill. And when it doesn't, I go right back to the thing that brought me all the so called pleasure I needed. It fulfilled me. It knew what I wanted. He couldn't, but hey, she couldn't, but hey. That person screws up once and you'll remember, but that thing never screwed up. Listen, my first marriage was wrought with stupidity from me, wrought with it. That was one of the biggest ones. I went in with an expectation of an act and I put it on somebody that had zero way to fulfill that. Even if they tried, they couldn't. And they tried. Couldn't do it. So I just fell back to what I knew. I fell back to what was, I never considered it that wrong. I had needs. But your mind is racing now. Now that human being that you met has to race against something that's intangible. They can't see it. They have no idea how to fight back against it. They couldn't help themselves regardless. They're competing one with two things, a feeling and a face. And whether you believe it or not, you have put a face to that feeling every time you watch. You watch somebody else, that's the first person that's going to pop into your head in the middle of doing something with the person you say you love. That image is there, and you apply every bit of your normal life to that fantasy life. And when that person comes along that's trying their best to love you, you don't know how to accept it because it's not the brand of love that you're looking for. You want to be wanted in a certain way. You're holding up a certain criteria of somebody that is impossible for them to meet. In the meantime, you're also looking for somebody that's impossible to find. You have a standard and a criteria for men that's an impossible standard to meet. Hence why every man's a loser and you'll never find a good man because in your mind, a good man is a man that will replace something that no man can replace. Here's the problem. Here's the problem. Many don't equate pornography or those books with drugs. And I'm here to tell you something a little bit. It is a drug. It's a drug. It produces the exact same chemical reaction in your body as any hardcore illicit drug, if not worse. Going into it saying, oh, I can stop anytime I want, you are lying to yourself. You are lying to yourself. You have now created a chemical dependency on this thing. That dopamine hit, it is massive. When I was doing some looking into the effects of it, it is like taking a hit, a snort of cocaine every time it takes a effect of release in your. So every time you go to finishing, it's like a snort of cocaine. It creates now a high. And now your body's going to keep looking for that particular kind of high. And let me tell you, the human body does not give that type of high. It could even be better, and it's still not that kind of high because of the points that it hits. And it will constantly deteriorate your mindset about relationships. It'll destroy it. Tattered, killed. So, how do you get past this? For the women out there that are stuck, either in books, hardcore pornography, or even as simple as the Prince Charming situation, you have only one thing that could get you out of it, and that's the pursuit of God. You have to relinquish these things to Him. You have no other choice. You have no other option. You have no other out. You can't do it. Humanly, can't be done. I don't care what anybody tells you, it can't humanly be done. You're trying to defeat something that's a spiritual fight that don't have the power to do in and of yourself. You just don't. You could have the will mindset of a bull. The first thing is acknowledging that it's a problem. You have to see the problem. You have to see that it destroys relationships, it hinders God, and it replaces God. I would even say that replaces God at the top one. It replaces God, and then it hinders every kind of relationship after that. No man will match it. No human on earth will compare to what you have in your mind. But a man can pursue God, and so can a woman. And God can manifest himself in any human being, which means that when you see God enacting in a person's life and you're pursuing God, the relationship will be natural and controlled and right. But you have to understand one major thing: that relationship with God cannot exist with that there. As a normalcy, it can't be there. In your relinquishing this to Him, you have to be done. Done, 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 done. You have to admit that you have to be done. Sometimes it may take something fatal. Sometimes it may take something very, 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 very hard. You may lose a relationship that you really want. You may lose something even worse. You may lose a job. You may lose family. There are a lot of things out there that this device kills. Pornography is one of the most dangerous things on the planet. It cost an entire city its inhabitants. Nations have fallen because of sexual addiction. Presidencies have been ruined. Monarchies have been taken down. Millionaires have gone bankrupt because of pornography. Then the question remains is this: is it worth it? Is it worth it? Now, many of us have the after fulfillment feeling. After you do what you got to do and you've given in, that walk in your mind of shame and that instant condemnation that you feel, is that worth it? Is that worth going back to do it the second and third and fourth and fifth time? I mean, I know you justify to yourself that it is worth it because of the experience that you get. I get that that's the excuse you make. But is it really worth it? Is the hangover worth it? Is the days of headaches worth drinking and getting drunk and passed out? Is the destruction of your relationship worth it? Is the tainting of what relationship actually is worth it? Do you really want a man fawning over you so much that he focuses on nothing else at all in his life? That's what you really want? I don't consider either a disease. I consider both a choice. Alcoholism is not a disease. That's an excuse. And I know this because my brother was one. I've seen family members die from alcoholism and they chose to drink. They chose to drink. You choose to fulfill what you want to fulfill. It's just a choice. When the conviction gets to you, though, you stop. And you have to put measures in place to stop. The pull is going to be there regardless because your flesh is there. But the have to give in goes away. No, that's the most dangerous thing you can possibly do. Why would you invite someone from the outside into your marriage? Why would you watch two people that have no relation to your marriage doing what you and your husband should be doing? You are now creating for your spouse a different woman to be thinking of while he should be thinking about you. That is the most dangerous. You might as well just say we have an open marriage and just say, hey, in fact, we don't even need to be married. You find a female, I'll find a male, and we just do whatever we want. Just do that. You're doing it anyway if you're going to be watching that together. You might as well just give in to that. Because at that point, it's no longer a marriage anyway. You're asking for a divorce. You're asking for infidelity. You've already, in fact, that's already bringing infidelity into it. You've introduced it now. Now, understand this. And I'm not going to touch on this for too long, but understand this. The marriage bed was made for fulfillment so that one does not stray into its own fleshly desires. It says so. The thing that controls that is the individual's control of their relationship with God. If you have an individual relationship with God, He curbs everything to His desired frequency. When there is a need, it's fulfilled. And both will know, both will decide because they are both in tune with the one that controls it all. Say you have a hyperdrive, your spouse does not. It's about half of yours. And your desire cannot be fulfilled by your spouse. What then? Do you say, well, I'll just watch porn and I'll just solidify for myself a way out when my needs need to be met? You create the excuse. No, you pray it off. Pray it off. You take that to God. You have to do one of two things, God. Curb my desire or increase my spouse's, or have me completely focused so much on you that this is no longer a problem. Let Him decide. I'm not here to tell anybody how to run their marriage and their love life. I'm not here for that. I'm just telling you that there are myriads of things that people put as though it's is relationship and it's not. And you women, you have to start looking at the little things that you request and need from men. Because it is no longer men who alone have the problem of high expectations. And then you say men are just, oh, you're the same way. You are the exact same way. I would dare say that your expectations are way higher. 90% of the time, you just have to be present for our needs to be met. 90% of the time. Men have to be emotionally available, something that is the most difficult thing for them to do, for the majority of women to feel as though they're accepted. You put that criteria on most men when they are so divided between work and taking care of the home. And then you expect them to become this different human being to fulfill your needs when your needs are so far off expectations, it's not even funny. And if you think that doesn't damage relationship, then you obviously don't think that's pornography. The same way pornography puts a man in a position of expecting a woman to do something that's completely unnatural, it's the same way that a woman's expectation of a man in a relationship makes him have to do things that are unnatural. It is the same thing. Same thing. But you have needs. You have needs. Yes. Yes, I do. Can the spirit transfer to your children? A lady says that her husband, as well as her, is addicted. Now her daughter. Yeah. You bring that spirit into the home. I can tell you firsthand, yes, you can. During this current marriage right now, when I first got married to my wife, I was still fairly into the throes of it, into pornography. Lo and behold, one of my kids got into it as well. I brought that spirit into the home. I brought that in. I was the head. I'm the head, and I have something of a divisive nature that can kill a relationship, and I brought it into the home. Now, while I kicked it, my son was still going through it. The advantage I had was that God was the one that helped me, and I was able to help him. But yes, you can bring it along, which is why it's a very bad idea to get into it to begin with. And it's also a very good idea to identify what you think may not be it as it. If it detracts from relationship, if it stops you from having a proper relationship, and if it puts a fantastical view of relationship, it's pornography. I don't care if it's Disney, it's pornography. It gives an unhealthy attachment to relationship for physical gratification. For physical gratification, it's pornography. So, women, focus, buckle down, analyze what you do in the day, analyze the things that you have as criteria for men, analyze whether it's even godly. Are you putting the kind of pressure on men that men put on women when they watch pornography? I need a man with a six pack, chiseled chin, good bank account, flowers every day. Need him to woo me. Men say, I want a woman with a nice behind, big chest. She has to be able to do this in bed, that in bed, the other in bed. Both destroy true relationship. Both destroy true relationship. Of whether or not it can be handed down, is that the question, right? Is that, can that spirit be handed down to children? They can definitely be influenced on that for sure. It is not a matter of what men want. Every man's different. There are some basic needs, but it's every man's different. Every man is different. I can tell you one thing they don't want is contention. You have to decide what your man wants. You have to see what your man wants. Your man has to see what you want. But here's the problem with both of those things: it cannot just be a want thing. You both have to need God, and God will direct everything else. Limiting things to the physical, I want security, I want money, I want sex, all that stuff, that's not relationship. Eventually, those will go away. You'll hit the age of 70 and 80 and no longer have that affiliation to relationship. What will you have then? What you going to have then? You have to start focusing differently. You pursue God, period. He pursues God, period. Someone gave me this example years and years ago about a triangle. So you both start at the bottom here, different corners, right? And you're so far away with each other, and then you're both pursuing God, though. Okay, so you're both pursuing God, and your journey is heading you to God. The more you pursue your path to God, the closer you get to your spouse, because you both have the same goal. And that goal never moves. That goal does not change. That goal never falters. It just stays. And if you are both focused on getting to that point, you leave who you were and you focus on getting to that point, you get closer. And when you finally arrive, but you have to pursue God. He's really the only one that can cure all the crap that you've been through all the stuff you're going through, all the stuff you will go. He's the only one, right? So let's just start there. That the true relationship with God is the first place you have to start, because you can't recognize good relationships without the relationship maker, and that's God. Okay. So you have the relationship maker. Men and women pursuing God will be aligned with each other when they connect. It will be natural, because as you pursue God, your entire thing, you change it. Your wants change, your desires change, your needs change. All of it change because it's going to be based on what He wants. If you're single and you don't want to be with a man, you're done with men. Deal with God. Deal with God. She was my first crush. I was 9 years old when I first laid eyes on her. Nine, 8 years old. She was 7, 6.5, 7. She was a tall gal. And I was a twerp. I was this little beanbag, skinny little thing, fly on the wall. No one knew I was there. I was inconsequential to everybody, just. But I liked her, and I memorized everything, home, where she lived, family, and she didn't know I existed. Okay, didn't know. And by the time I left that island, um, all that connection was gone. So find her again in 2011, and rest is history. So I can't tell you how I can tell you how I knew, but I can't tell you how I knew. I didn't bring her back to mind because I was wanting to. She was just brought back to mind, and now we have where we are now. That's all I can tell you. I wasn't pursuing a relationship. I was quite much in the throes of my own way of living, but I did go through a period of time where I was okay. Internet just decided to give up all of a sudden and come back. If you can see me and hear me, let me know, please. If you can see me and hear me, let me know. No, it wasn't you guys. I'm the one that froze. Okay. Don't know what happened there. In any case, all I know, it was brought to mind, and the rest is history. And where we are right now is a crazy location, really good location. That took us a while to get here because we both fought God heavily, tooth and nail. We fought Him, and both did dumb things. I can speak for myself. I did really dumb things. Um, Still continue to do dumb things. But when you decide to give it up to God, He decides to take it away. And you have the ability to fight off multiple things that may come your way. But that's why I said you have to give it to him. You cannot depend upon yourself. When you start thinking that you can do it yourself, that's where the problems kick in. Problems kick in quick when you think you have it down. I will never say I have anything in the bag. I don't have it in the bag. The instant I stop looking to him to fight my battles and I start fighting them, I will lose. I'm not strong enough to take care of the flesh. I'm simply not. That's why I don't fight the flesh. I'm not in that battle. I don't want to fight that battle. I don't even want to deal with it. I don't want to have to fight the battle that I know I will fail. I'm not doing it. I know it's a failing thing. I know it's a losing battle, which is why I don't fight my wars there. And it's not the place for me to be. I don't want to touch it. I don't want to handle it. He said he's got that. I'm letting him do what he's got to do. Women, if you're in that position, you have to hand this off. You have to recognize it for what it is. It's hindering you from many things, especially the relationship with him. He brings people to your wheel well. Your job is to make yourself the virtuous wife. Whether you're single or married, your job is to make yourself the virtuous wife. That means pursuing God and doing what you're supposed to do. The rest he takes care of. The world has sold you a bag of goods about what relationship is, and it's a lie. It's independency crap. This he has to woo me crap. No. It's all a lie to keep you away from true relationship. It keeps you unfulfilled. And as long as you're unfulfilled, you keep searching for something else. Same thing with the men, but we're talking to the women right now. It'll keep you unfulfilled. And men will perpetually be the bad guys. And they don't have a choice. Maybe ask yourself whether or not you're the problem versus the men you found. Tomorrow, we'll be talking about whether or not the cross is or has become an idol. Many don't know exactly what I'm going to talk about and how I'm going to approach it, so I'll give you a little precursor. It's twofold, okay? So that you get your mind a little bit prepped for what I'm going to talk about. Many of us focus on the cross and stay right there, and that becomes our idol. And then some of us focus on the cross so much we have to get the actual cross in some sort of representation and worship it. Necklace. And that is our reminder. That has become the thing now. It's no longer about the person, but the representation of what he was on. And it can become an idol. So we'll talk about that dynamic. And break it down from there. We do have, I know it's not listed, but we do have Too Strong tonight. And I have the topic here. I just need to find it. Hang on a quick second. We just haven't set it up with how much crap has been going on around. So okay. There it is. The Kenyan president talked about some money problems that the US dollar is going to go under. And that would be one we'll be talking about, and the new president that might be running in 2024, the new concept of a president. So one of those two will be tonight. We have not figured that out yet. So Well, we'll put it up here in a bit after I have a conversation and we go through it. Yeah, she's on her way home. Her grandpa's gonna go grab her, so I think she'll be fine. She just needs to rest. She got sick early this week, and she just needs to rest. She hasn't been resting. So, in any case, I hope this helped women to understand a few things about where your mindset might be, and how displaced that we can become sometimes, and complacent we can become sometimes with the things that we say we want versus what we actually need. So, take some time, go in your closet, talk to your father, have him reveal whether or not the things you've been putting forward as a need for relationship is true and right, and have that discussion with him, because he wants you to have that talk. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I did get a letter from Holly yesterday, and I will be writing you back. So thank you for the letter. I just want to make sure people know that I got their things when they do send it. Hope you guys have a good rest of the day. Take some time, focus on God, recalibrate, and we'll talk tomorrow. My email, Antonio, is I'll put it up here for you. This is my email. If you want to send a email that way, feel free. If you prefer to send snail mail, this is my P.O. box. Okay? So 2 options of sending info, email or to my P.O. box. So feel free to send that if you have questions or need to talk about something. I'll see you guys this afternoon at on Too Strong in the Mix. And until then, wisdom calls to you from the streets. Please, please, please find wisdom. Peace.
Hold tight the dreams, for if dreams die, rely on your